Howdy there, Internet students. Mr. Hermanson again. Say this is the second day of 6.1c. We're learning about Pythagorean's theorem. And just to review quickly, there's a formula. It looks like this. A squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. And what we're talking about there is the area of the square on side A of a right triangle. So this has to be a right triangle. If you draw a square on that side, so the length of that side times itself would be the area of that square. And if you add the area of the square on side B together, you will get the area of the square drawn on side C. So we could show that real quickly here. You can find the two shorter sides, A and B, by this right angle. Those are called the legs. So the leg here, which is 3, because 3 squared is 9, and the leg here is 4, because 4 squared is 16. We know that the area of this big square will be 9 plus 16, which is 25. All right, and then once we know the area, you can take the square root of that to find the side length. So the side length will be the square root of 25. So go ahead and do number 2. Fill in the missing parts and the missing side lengths. All right, I hope that you noticed that this square here is one of the smaller squares off of a leg. So that if you add 2.25, the area of the smallest square plus the area of the middle-sized square, 4, it has to equal the area of the largest square, which is 6.25. And then if you take the square root of those, you get the side lengths, 1.52 and 2.5. All right? So if we know two sides of the right triangle, we can find the missing side. And the way we do that is we're going to take this side length times itself to get that area on that leg, plus the area on the second leg. Now remember, when I say legs, I'm talking about the two sides that make the right angle. Okay, if we add those two, we will get the area of the square on the biggest side, called the hypotenuse. So 1 squared is 1, plus 2 squared, that's 4. So 5, and what we might say is, let's just call this C. So if you take the length C times itself, that'll give you that area. And that area has to equal the two small areas added together, which would be 5. And then if we want the side length C, you just undo this squared by doing the square root. And if you want to approximate like that, if you want to see it as a decimal number, then you would put it in your calculator and do the square root of that. So it's about 2.24. So this side length is 1, this side length is 2, this side length is about 2.24, or exactly the square root of 5. All right. So let's try a couple problems here. You guys see if you can find the missing one. I'll put my work in and you can check your work. Notice that on this one you're finding the biggest square. So the area of the squares on these two legs added together will equal that area. And then don't forget, if you want the side length, you have to take the square root of that area. On this one you're finding one of the legs. So this length is going to be smaller than those two. So the area of this square on this side plus the area of this square on this side will equal the area of that square on that side. Give it a shot. All right, here's what I got. I got 5 for this missing side here, and I got 24 for this missing side. And you can see my work there. Okay, another cool thing about this is you can find the shortcut. Or like if you're traveling by helicopter, the shortcut instead of going by highway or something like that. So rectangular lawn measures 9 meters by 12 meters. Suppose you walk from point A to point B. So suppose you decide not to listen to the sign and you go from here to here straight across. Take the shortcut. Okay. Instead of walking the long way, which would be this far, which is 9 meters, and then this far, which is 12 meters. Okay. So we want to know how far you would walk if you obey the sign. Well, we just have to add 9 plus 12, right? Which is 21 meters. And if you ignore the sign and walk directly across the lawn, how far will you walk? Well, here we need Pythagorean's theorem. Let's call this distance x. That's the longest side. So the two legs squared, the area of the squares on the legs added together, so I do 12 squared, will equal the area of the square on the hypotenuse, which is x squared, if x is my length. Okay, so I'm going to add 9 squared, which is 81, to 144. And that equals 81 plus 144 is 225. That would be the area of the square on the hypotenuse. We want to know the side length, which is how far we would walk. And to do that, you undo that squared by doing the square root. And the square root of 225 is 15. So if you take the shortcut, you walk 15 meters. If you go the long way, you walk 21 meters. So you save 6 meters by taking the shortcut. All right. We can use the same logic to find some measurements on a baseball field. It's called a baseball diamond, but this is really a square, which means there's right angles. And what we want to know here is, so let's say a catcher has to throw out somebody trying to steal second, so they have to throw this distance straight across, right? Well, this is a right angle here, so I hope you're seeing this right triangle. All right, so go ahead and use that right triangle to find this missing distance. Let's call that x. Give it a shot. All right, here's my work for that. And the last thing, if you want to know how many feet that is so that it's a normal number, we would have to take the square root of 16,200. So it's about 127 feet, a little over that. (127), let's say 0.3 rounded to the nearest tenth of a foot. All right. So Trevor and Carolyn are flying kites. Carolyn is holding the kite and has let out 80 feet of string. Trevor is standing 20 feet from Carolyn and is directly under the kite. So let's draw a line right there. And it says, how far above the ground is the kite? So we know that this missing side here, this creates a right triangle. Do you guys see it there? Now x is one of the legs, so if you set this up, x squared would represent the area of the square on that leg. Then 25 would be the other legs, and that would have to equal 80 squared. Now when you have a situation like this, you actually have to subtract right here because you're backtracking. 80 squared is 6,400. So I'm going to take 6,400 minus the 625 when I'm backtracking. So that would be 6,400 minus 625. Oops, I think I did that wrong. Equals 5,775, and then I have to do the square root of that. So it's about 76 if we round it. So this was 5,775, and that's x squared. So by subtracting, I got rid of this plus 625 here. So the square root of that was about 76, about 76. Okay, so x is 76. Now, since Carolyn is holding her hand right here, it says 3 feet above the ground, we have to add that onto that 76 to get the total distance above the ground, which is 79. All right. This is another problem where we have a triangle. So we want to know how much horizontal distance does the ramp require? And it goes up 1 foot for every horizontal distance of 11.5. So we're going to build a restaurant entrance that is 2.5 feet above the ground. So let's just draw a new triangle here. And the total we're going to be above the ground is 2.5 feet, so let's put that there. The horizontal distance required is 11.5 feet for every 1 foot. So we're going to do 11.5 times 2.5. And that's 28.75, so we need 28.75 feet this way. Now we can figure out how long the ramp would be. So this is 28.75. So go ahead and calculate that right there. All right, so you square 2.5, you square 28.75, you add those together. And then you do the square root of that, and if you did all that right, you came up with this number, about 28.9 feet. All right, that's how long the ramp should be. All right, on this one, a little bit of a challenge here. It says find the values of C and H. I think C means this whole distance here. Not sure, maybe not. But you're going to need a proportion to do that. I'll let you work that out. We'll use that as a challenge if you want to find that answer. Okay. At this point, you can work on your next set of homework problems, which is this page. All right. I hope you have some luck with that, and we'll talk to you soon.